What do we got on that union front, baby?
UAW has reached tentative deals with each of the big three, Ford, GM, and Stellantis. This just came in yesterday. Huge deal here.
So exciting.
These strikes have been happening for 6-8 weeks,
Something like
that. It's just a huge win for labor overall.
One of the biggest of my lifetime.
Yeah.
Easily the biggest of our lifetimes.
I'd say so. I mean, as someone who hasn't paid as much attention, but what results did they get from this? 25% raises over 4.5 years from now, including an 11% raise upon ratification, because the union leaders have agreed to this, but the members still have to vote on it. They'll probably vote with what the leaders have said is good.
I want to pause there for a second.
Yeah.
Over this 4.5 year period, workers will get more money in raises than what they've gotten over the last 20 years. Oh, hell yeah.
That's insane.
Sean Fain.
Yeah.
We'll sing his praises in a bit. Let's keep going. What else did they get?
So a huge part of this was the battle against tiered workers, right? And so that's gone through, which means that the raises that are coming for the lowest level workers in the union are going to be the biggest.
Hell yeah.
Temporary workers who have been working at $16, $17 an hour are going to be raised to upwards of $40 an hour by the end of the contract.
Oh my God.
Speeds up their conversion to full-fledged employees. So that's everything for salary, but it also reinstates the cost of living adjustments that the companies negotiated out of the agreement during the 2008-2009 financial crisis. So these salaries are always going to keep up with inflation, at least from now on, which is huge.
Amazing.
Increased 401k company contributions.
Banging.
Enhanced profit sharing bonuses, which
so banging.
Super exciting.
So exciting, because that's what you want. You want your employees to be tied into your company's success.
Totally.
That is the goal here. Mm-hmm. And so those profit sharing incentives and those profit sharing bonuses are going to make all the difference into these employees' lives and the employees' feeling of community within your organization.
Yes, absolutely. And their motivation.
Oh, and their motivation.
Do their work. Yeah, they're just going to feel more fulfilled, I think, at least.
Oh, for sure. And there's going to be now a right to strike over plant closures, which used to be barred. You weren't allowed to strike over plant closings down. That wasn't a right you had in these negotiations. Well, now you do.
Yeah, and I feel like that's really exciting because it means that labor is going to have to be part of the discussion
every time
if plants are going to close.
Every time unions are going to be at the table, and that's exactly what we want.
Yes, that is how you balance the market power with the worker power.
Absolutely.
Yeah, put them at the table.
Absolutely.
And then there's a bit of progress on the EV front, which we talked about before, the idea of how are we going to unionize these battery plants in addition to the automaker facilities?
Exactly.
This applies to Ford. We don't know yet for GM and Stellantis, but in the master agreement, a majority of the workers at Ford's battery plant in Marshall, Michigan, or its EV assembly plant in Tennessee, they can submit cards saying they want a union. This is a process known as a card check. And it means that if the majority of the workforce is eventually made up of UAW members,
the contract will apply to them as well. Which now we have the perfect launching point of unionization of the EV plants now, right? Like so fast.
Yeah.
Because it just has to be a card check. This is going to be avoiding the union elections if they can just get a majority of the members to sign the cards.
Yeah.
Which is historically a lot easier than winning union elections. So now I want to go into how much I love Sean Fain, okay? Yeah. Because he has just crafted a beautiful strategy. So he comes in, he only won election this year. This is his first year being UAW president, and he's already the most successful UAW president of my life, which is just crazy to think about. And he came into this on the election season saying that he was going to be the strongest advocate possible, that he was going to be a militantly pro-labor, a militant labor leader. And that's exactly what we've seen. And his language also reflects that. And, your actions and what you're able to do for your workers are so incredibly important. But it's also important as a labor leader to send your political message out into the people who aren't in your union and explain to the people who aren't in your union why your union is good for them too. And in a speech he had recently, he had these 3 quotes that I really want to outline here. He said, "A turning point in the class war that's been raging in this country for the past 40 years." That's how he views modern America right now, a class war. And he says that this is the turning point. We are turning the corner. We are sticking it to capital, putting power in the hands of labor. And he says that this war has been raging for 40 years. Nice knock on Ronald Reagan, Sean Fain. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the type of rhetoric we need out in the open. That's the type of language we need from our politicians.
I agree.
That's the type of language we had from Bernie Sanders when he was running for president, but he was never able to get out into the open media market and be exposed to a lot of like regular voters. It was hard for him because he wasn't like a national brand at the time, whereas Joe Biden was, where Joe Biden, he can come out and say stuff like this. And I think he could change a lot of people's minds really fast. If he says something like this, where he says we're in a class war and the UAW has turned the corner on workers' rights, I feel like that would take a lot of liberals and make them way more in support of unions. You know what I mean?
I agree. It's like, even though his actions have kind of been saying that, his rhetoric hasn't been.
His rhetoric is always like...
He's tiptoeing.
He's always tiptoeing. He's always like, I don't have a problem with people making money. He's like, capitalism without competition is exploitation. I like that line when he says it, but you got to be more ferocious with it. You have to say we're in a class war. You have to convince the working class that you're on their side, you know? Because as much as I love your new decisions at the NLRB, as much as I love the judges you're appointing, as much as I love the Inflation Reduction Act and what that does for EV-related jobs and stuff, I love the money that you put in the CHIPS Act for job training. That's great. That's awesome. That's pro-worker stuff. But you have to be able to sell it. And I don't know if he's selling it the way he needs to be selling it, like Sean Fain can sell this.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think he likes his positioning in the middle.
He always does.
Yeah.
He always does.
So he doesn't want to sell it too hard.
Another Sean Fain quote from his speech. He says that this was a call to action to workers everywhere to organize and fight for a better life.
Yeah.
Expanding outside of the UAW family. He's taken it to every worker, no matter where you work. This is a call for you to organize. And I love that mindset. He said these corporations had no idea what was coming for them, and they have no idea what's next. Yeah. And I am so excited by what he announced is next, because, oh boy, does he have plans.
Yeah.
He announced that the UAW is officially targeting the 20,000 worker factory in Fremont, California.
The Tesla
factory. Fremont, California factory. The Tesla factory.
Yeah.
He's coming for you, Elon. It's about time. Go rewatch our EV episode when we went over Tesla's supply chain and where they produce their cars. I literally said that the UAW should target Fremont, California, and that's exactly what they've done.
Yeah.
Awesome job, Sean Fain. Workers at the Tesla factory at Fremont, California have officially formed an organizational committee to form a union, and the UAW is funding the effort. Oh my God. Oh, it's happening. And he concludes his speech with just an incredible line. He says, when we return to the bargaining table in 2028, it won't just be a big 3, but it'll be a big 5 or even a big 6, indicating that they will not be stopping at Tesla, which is just amazing, because Tesla is the big boogeyman in this whole situation. We've been talking for months on this strike saying, oh man, if they can't get EVs figured out, Tesla's going to lap them.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
But if they're able to unionize Tesla, all that fear goes out the window. And it's just so exciting to think that that could actually happen.
Yeah, it'll be hard, because we've also talked about how good Elon has been at preventing unionization. But what I'm thinking about now is how does he even stop it, right? Like, especially with the Chemex ruling that we talked about a while back, where if there is any evidence of workers wanting to start a union and the company doing something to squash that union organizing, there's an automatic union election held. So with those kinds of circumstances, right, like, it's hard for me to even fathom a path for the union not to be formed. Yeah. Especially now that Sean Fain has gotten all of this press, all of this attention.
So true.
And he's put this idea out there, right? How are these workers not going to form a union?
Right. He showed the success of a union.
Mm-hmm.
He just showed that to all of those 20,000 workers at Fremont, California. If you are one of them,
Yeah.
please, you have to see how a union is in your interest. Just to really nail down this point, under the new tentative agreement with the UAW and the Big Three, their benefits plus hourly compensations is estimated to be $88 to $89 an hour. That's their wages plus benefits.
Wow.
At Tesla, it's $45 an hour, wages plus benefits.
That's crazy.
They're making double what you make, dude.
Yeah.
And it's all because they have a union and you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like the fact that these companies have unionized also makes it more okay for Tesla to unionize. Like, they don't have to worry about the same thing now that the Big Three have worried about,
Right.
that they're going to be falling behind.
Yep.
They're just going to be coming into step with them.
Exactly. So Elon, big boss, is coming in for you. Sean Fain, he's coming. And God, listen, I don't want Sean Fain to run for president in 2028 because I want him to be around at this 2028 bargaining table.
But in 2032.
In 2032, Sean Fain, you better run for president, dude. I don't care if you run as an independent, okay?
Yeah.
You do whatever you want. You are my guy. I love you.
This guy's awesome.
He's fucking the best, dude.
No, it's snowballing, and he is a big part of it. We talked already for next week's deep dive. We've had such a crazy union summer. We want to go a little bit deeper and see what sparked this, what drove it, and we're going to be telling that whole story, which I don't really know any of yet, and I'm really excited to learn about.
Yeah, I don't even know much about it either, and I'm excited. I remember last year, there was like a Striketober thing. Maybe that was 2 years ago, and that was the first time in my life where I was like, do strikes get covered in the media like this frequently? That was the first time I kind of saw that, and the AFL-CIO's response, we'll talk about this next week, but the AFL-CIO's response to that was kind of exciting. They're like, wait a second, our strikes are trending on Twitter? They're like, wait a second, why? And then it was like hashtag Striketober, and it became this thing, and the AFL-CIO was like really shocked. So we'll talk about that next week.